Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we begin, let's give a brief little review. In the last part, we had Izuku Midoriya. Izuku, he decided to confront Tony Stark about a few things. He wanted to go talk to Pepper Potts before he did anything else. He found out that Tony was using extremists and pumping it through the water supply of New York City. He then encountered Tony as an enemy, and discover that this man is not the Tony Stark he once met. This is the worst version of Tony Stark: egotistical, alcoholic, and willing to do anything for personal gain. In fact, he's back in the weapon industry, and this isn't a good thing. Tony Stark is not a good man anymore. Public opinion on him has only gone up because extremists gives people what they want: their health, and a perfect physique. And in some cases, it gives them the appearance of certain heroes. Now, with that being said, while Deku encountered Tony, Captain Marvel came in to save him, and Tony Stark ran off. And Deku, he had a lot of things going through his head. He got into contact with Riri Williams to make sure that she was okay. He even sent out a suit for her to use, after learning she was locked out of her own armory. And Deku, he does currently have a lot of things going through his own mind. Tony Stark is not the man he used to be. The man wearing his face, he needs to be taken down. And Deku, he knows for one simple thing: he's going to have to kill Iron Man. He doesn't like the idea in his mind. Having that simply just sit there and fester, it's not good. And currently there actually is a few days later. Deku, he does sit there in his lap. Currently, him turning his head and seeing a few things. His satellites scanning all around the world for any information. If there's anybody who could find Tony Stark, it would be him. He's checked multiple places: Stark Tower, Captain Island's finances, and even Avengers Tower. He's even looked in places Tony would not expect: the old factories he built for the Armor Around the World project. Deku, he just doesn't know. Tony Stark is a wild card, and he's trying to predict what he would do, things that he would do. It's not easy. And currently Izuku, he'll get a turn. Currently, him asking Miss Costa to run the diagnostics about everything they have, and to report in. I'm going to turn, grabbing a large mug of coffee and telling her he's going to get another cup, and then he's going to sit down. He needs to work on a project against Tony Stark, an anti-symbiotic armor. That's definitely a mouthful. Maybe bring Pete down here. Check it out. Yeah, he could definitely help with that. Mr. Parker is currently in the living area. Perfect. Deku walking to the elevator. Currently him heading upstairs, and we do actually have where the elevator would open up. Currently the TV playing as Deku, he has a walkout. Currently him seeing Kamala and Peter sitting on the couch together, as Miles is talking about a few things. Currently him expressing to both of them about how he's just still a bit confused on a lot of things, like how the whole thing would work. I'm going to turn to Izuku, staring at him for a second as Deku would walk into the kitchen. Miles trying at least to ask him, okay. He knows it's going to be a bit more of a personal and invasive question, but how does Terrigenesis work? Deku turning to the coffee maker, him pulling it out and staring at it. And is this a note? Him turning it over and seeing Deadpool's handwriting. Took rest of coffee. Make Pot answer his question. Also, be ready. Need to work fast. Okay. Him taking off the bottom, and then going to set it down to the side, telling Miles. He gets his interest in Teragenesis, but is there a particular reason? I'm going to turn and begin to make a fresh pot of coffee. And Miles does try to talk about it. He's just a bit curious, is all. I mean, he just remembers that it was a whole big thing. Just he just wants to know a bit more about it. He was gone for 5 years. Can you blame him? Not really, no. I can't. It's a whole thing. Deku began the process, talking about how it works as the pot of coffee is being made. And Izuku, he would tell Peter, him walking out about how he wants him to come to the lab real quick. Hmm? Anything in particular? Need to work on a new set of armor. Want to take down Tony? Anti-symbiote armor. Fire and sound waves. Is that it? Well, electricity also does work. Anything else in particular you're thinking of? He has a suit made of nanites connected to his mind. As far as I'm aware, the same way I can mentally interlock with my own technology is the same thing that he's doing. Though it's more technical rather than just his own innate powers, Pete. Huh. So an EMP might not work on him. Yeah, I've already had that theory. Though sound waves do not work on him either. You sure? He's basing it off of symbiote technology. Yes, but Pete, technology. That is true. So fire? I don't even think that will work. Right. I'll look into a few things. Currently, Deku going to turn his head. As Miss Costa, we're going to activate a security alert directly on the wristband. Her expressing, as Deku would turn his head and begin to look at an emergency message she allowed him to see. And Deku, the moment he does start the information, he goes to drop his coffee. Currently the cup clattering to the ground as Peter would stare at Deku. And Deku would immediately turn running to the elevator. And this may not be pretty good. Currently, Miles sitting up and turning, grabbing the remote and turning on the news. And there's nothing going on. And we do actually have Deku. Right now standing in the elevator, going over and playing the message again. And we do currently have from his point of view, through the very eyes he does have. It's a message directly from Crystal, sent through an emergency alert channel. Attilan is in danger. Somebody's here. Somebody's attacking Attilan. They need help. She's already gotten Jasmine out of there. But so far, the sentries may have been hacked. The sentries may have been triggering a loud explosion. And that being where everything, it does get cut out. And this makes him enraged. Currently, him walking out of the elevator and directly into the Mark 10 Model 2. Right now, him looking up and seeing the building already had the wall open up. Him blasting directly out and up into the air. Everybody hearing a sonic boom as Deku ascended right past them. And this, it did have them concerned. Currently, Carol walking over and seeing that. A little bit more alarmed. Trying at least to ask Miss Costa about the situation. To which you could express, situation has been deemed on a secure and locked channel, not authorized to access it. Are any of us? No. Sadly, Miss Danvers, information has been locked out because it is personal and pertains to Izuku. His family life on Attilan. Right. Okay. So we need to figure out what we're going to do for patrol. We're currently going to turn. And let us cut over to Izuku, who currently is rocketing up into space at top speed. Him looking up and trying to figure a few things out. If Tony hacked those goddamn sentries to kill everybody on Attilan, he is going to feel worse than he already is. Tony may have gone one hell of a step too far, and this will be the final nail in the coffin that drives him over the edge. He already knew he crossed the line killing Thanos, but that was fucking Thanos. That was different. There are exceptions to the rules. And right now, if Tony decided to kill the mother of his child, he will become the very meaning of the exception to the goddamn rules. And this, it thoroughly enrages Zuko. Currently, him flying in and seeing Attilan. And it's okay. Currently, him landing quickly on a balcony. Him activating his air brakes and landing a bit hard. As Crystal, she's going to turn her head. Her running over and opening the door. Bring her hand up and seeing Izuku. Currently, him stepping out of his armor as it does go stand back up. Him stepping forwards, talking about it. He got her signal. Him running forwards and pulling her into a hug. We're going to don't pull back, asking if everything's okay here. He thought she was in danger. He thought something happened to Jasmine. Good to see you too. No, we're okay. What signal? You you didn't send a message out? No, I didn't. But I thought I heard an explosion. And Izuku, slow down. Is that why you're here? It's I thought I know tomorrow was supposed to. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I've been caught up with this Tony stuff, okay? I've been meaning to. I don't know what to say to you. Okay. Start from the beginning. What signal? What distress call? Deku turning, and the armor would bring its hand up. Currently, it showing an audio file that does begin to play. And it sounds exactly like Crystal. And there even is the point at the end where the explosion does go off. And the signal would have cut drastically there. And Deku talks about how he received that less than 2 minutes ago. I mean, he thought that she was. I'm sorry. I didn't send. Itsuku, nothing's happening on Attilan. I'm sorry. Him pulling away, turning and walking into the apartment. And there actually is that foreign smell in the air. If a human spends enough time in an environment, they go nose blind to everything around it. It's only when they spend enough time apart from it that they begin to smell everything once again for the first time. Those smells become foreign. And this place, having that feeling around it, Deku does not like. Currently, I'm going to turn. Seeing his daughter sitting there, actually doesn't want to call out to her papa. And Deku, he's going to turn back. Him telling Crystal. If she didn't send the call, then who did? No. Tony. Currently him running it back outside. And telling his armor. What's going on Earth? Superior Iron Man assault his tower? Did he do anything? And currently Miss Costa begins to run a few scans. Runs a few diagnostics. And currently the armor, it would go to show a few things. As we do have a video of the Superior Iron Man. Currently him floating there in the air talking about it. Hey kid, it's him. Listen, if he's watching this and seeing this, then that does mean one simple thing. He scanned the webs and found the files on this video. So, listen, this is for his eyes only. It's gonna cut to the tower, and Deku sees the West Coast Avengers Tower there 1 second, gone the next. And this, it immediately alarms Izuku, along with Crystal even staying there watching it disappear. It cutting back to Tony. Listen, kid. The tower's gone. I used some technology, and if you want to find out more, you have to come find me. Listen, this is going to be simple. We're playing on my rules, my timetables, and my time frames. So, you need to come to the coordinates immediately, especially if you want your friends back fast. Time is ticking, you know. Currently, the video going to end, and Deku does see the coordinates immediately pulled up. And Crystal, we see Deku ball his hands in a fist as they're producing lightning. And currently Deku, he would silently walk back over and turn to her. Her seeing the look in his eyes. Him expressing, lock down Attilan. I'm gonna turn and gonna do one thing. As currently there actually is the sentry systems that do monitor this place. And Deku, he tells them one simple thing. If they get an energy reading or sees anything approaching that is not his energy signature but is his size, blow it to Kingdom Come. Annihilate it with the full force of the sentry systems. Make sure not a scrap of it is left to be buried. And currently Deku, he's gonna walk back over his armor. It's building around him as it's gonna blast off high into the air. And Crystal, she does this one look up. A lot more alarmed. She knew the whole thing with Superior was intense, but not this intense. He did something before leaving, and she wants to know what he did. Currently, her gonna give Friday a call, bringing up the watch on her wrist, and going to send out a message. And Friday, whenever she has learned that Deku landed on Attilan just now and left immediately, she does try to talk to her about what happened. And Crystal, honestly, seeing him here again and interact with his daughter briefly was good. It reminded her of better times. She just doesn't know. He came running the moment he thought someone harmed them. Honestly, it does make her happy. It makes her glad. Her eyes won't smile. And Friday would alert her as to exactly what Izuku just did. And we do currently have Back Down on Earth, where Deku, he looked at Tony's message. He dived in more and saw exactly what the man wanted to do. The man wants to see who's the better Iron Man, see who's more fitting of the title. Izuku, the Invincible Iron Man, or Tony Stark, the superior Iron Man. Only one can really remain. There is an Iron Heart, but honestly, he doesn't care. She's a rookie compared to them. He could take her out in one fell swoop. Hell, cut the cord, and she has no more resources funding that little operation of hers. As far as he's aware, she was already on bare scraps anyways. So yeah, Izuku clearly has been paying attention to some of his allies. And he wants to get this done fast. He's got a pretty girl waiting for him back at home. And there currently is where Deku did some smash Izuku back down onto Earth. Him standing up and staring at Tony. Currently Tony sitting there and with a smile on his face. One of his drones recording everything as Tony won't stand up. Him informing the kid. So he's here. Deku bring his hand up and gonna try and blast Tony Stark directly in the face. And Tony would have his suit manifest around him along with threats of hours to block the attack. Currently it then falling towards him as he won't step forwards, wrapping around him and beginning to form his suit. He's gotta say, cheap tactic. Though he does love it. Listen, he gets the kids on a bit of a timetable and bring his hand up and tapping his left wrist. Though, what they're gonna do is gonna be quite simple. He's brought a few toys, and he wants Izuku to know. He wants him to summon some of his toys. They're gonna compete, see who's who, show him what's what. Come on. He knows he wants to. Izuku's got a bit of an ego on him. So flaunt it off. Show it off. He deserves it. And Deku yells back at Tony. He's not egotistical. He's not a sociopath like him. And Tony smiles, his eyes glowing blue as he would his own exclaim. The kid clearly has a few screws loose. I mean, honestly, to be a superhero, you practically fucking have to. Someone will either loosen those screws for you, or they just fall out over time. So which is it? The kid needs to take a fucking victory lap. He's tense. You know that? He just needs to let loose some of that frustration. Though he gets that right now he's mad. He did use pin particles to shrink the tower. He didn't atomize it. Though if he does win, he'll let him know how to fix it. And Deku stares at Tony. Currently the man goes on smile, as he would turn and snap his fingers. Right now some of his Iron Man armor's beginning to drop down from orbit. And Deku would look up, seeing the older models. And currently Deku, he just doesn't stare at that. Right now him looking back at Tony. And Tony, he doesn't even smile. As Deku, we're gonna tell him he really is making a mistake here. Am I? Am I really? Deku expressing, bringing his own hand up. He really is. And Deku, hey, we're gonna do one thing. Currently, the guardsman over in Genosha, it does it to activate. And then it does gonna send out a bit of a ping. Currently, it sending an automated response system to Genosha. Before it does, gonna take flight up and into the air. And Deku, he's gonna have one of the guardsmen ping over on the moon. Currently, it flying over and down onto the earth. And Deku, the moment he just don't sit there actually is with a creation, it doesn't fly down. It large and in charge. And Tony, he would look up. This thing has got to be at least, what, 7, 8 meters tall? And Izuku said he doesn't build weapons. How crude. I'm going to have that thought go through his mind. Currently, it going to land and stand there. And Izuku would turn his head, beginning to give it orders. As the other one from Genosha, it is making a quick flight from going up into orbit and coming back down halfway around the world. And Deku, he already has another guardsman ready and on the way, along with keeping the God Killer on standby. Tony Stark is a bad man, but he is trying his best not to kill him. Okay, let's see. The quantum realm. If he's right, there's a lot of things going on there. Peter could find a way out. And with... No, he doesn't know who was in the tower. Run diagnostics. Run systems check. What's going on in the tower? Currently systems are not connected to main server. Right, okay. Any members of the West Coast Avengers not in the tower? Current location of all allied team members are unknown. All allied teams are gone. Shit. Hank said that time passes faster. I'm turning to Tony. As the guardsmen were to smash down and land, directly behind the rest of the armors. And Tony, he would turn his head, staring at that. And Deku would bring his hands up, him blasting out forwards and looking clocking into Superior Iron Man. Tony turning and bringing his own hand up. And Deku would activate a shield directly from his face, blocking the blow. Deku and Tony flying through and smashing into some of the older suits. And Deku, he was going to tell him, bring his own hand up and making a blade. That, bring it out as the armor would shoot out tendrils and wrap it around his arm, along with the fact that a shield deployed to try and stop Izuku from stabbing into the actual armor. Kid, he really needs to work on a few things. But then again, a cheap tactic like that, gotta say, if he's gonna fight dirty, he'll fight dirty too. Currently, Tony going to fly backwards and up. Him blasting it from Izuku and bringing his own hands up. Him going to get ready. Currently, Deku turning and telling the guardsmen about what to do. Take down the older model suits. And there actually is where Tony Stark's armory, it does begin to fight. And Deku, he sees all these armors begin to descend on the guardsmen, each one dealing with swarms of suits. And Deku, he does watch an Iron Legion descend on his sentries, all of them basically dealing with a situation similar to Ultron. Tony has numbers, Deku has power, and this does mean quite a bit. Deku going to turn, bring his hand up, as there actually is where his arm is going to turn into a cannon along with part of his shoulder. It's blasting out towards Tony, and Tony would bring his own hands up, making a barrier in front of him. Currently, him telling Izuku, he's the father of the future. Does he really think that building tech and messing with it is the best idea? Does he really think that he can figure this out? He's practically written the book on armor combat. Him flying forwards, bring his hand out as Deku will bring his hand up. Him creating a shield as he will blast his hand out and the symbiote armor is smashing into it. It trying to make its way over and around the shield. Deku bring his foot up and blasting backwards. Him bring his hands up and going to create a gravity field. Currently Tony being suspended in the air as he would gotta tell Izuku. Honestly, good armor. Though, he does have one fell swoop in that idea. Currently Tony trying to hack into Deku's systems. And Deku, he would stare at Tony. Before he would go do one thing. He does secure his own network. Him going to bring his hand up and immediately activate gravity on Tony Stark. Him being sent flying towards the ground at 10 Gs. Now, this does mean a bit. Currently Tony being sent flying down as he would bring his hands up, using his suit's power and exerting a lot of it, being to fly back up into the air as he would turn, looking back at Deku and bring his own hand up. Him crinkling on his arms and then blast it at Deku. And Deku would turn, blasting back at Tony. And the two, they just stand there in a repulsor struggle. Currently, Deku using more and more force. Before we're going to tell Friday, Lethal Force Authorization Code. Now, Deku, he would say the one phrase he doesn't want to. Weapon active. And currently this, it does make him feel a little bit more sour on his lips. That taste in his mouth he doesn't like. And Tony, he was going to have his beam immediately shot through and hit. Currently, Tony being sent flying backwards and smashing onto the ground. Him going to sit back up as Deku would bring his hands up, firing out actual deathly repulsor attacks. Tony bring his hands up and activating his shields, before bringing his own hand out and blasting back at Deku. And Deku and Tony, they do begin to get back into the struggle again. Mr. Stark expressing, he didn't expect the kid to go all out in the first go. This early on, he doesn't want to save it. He doesn't want to reserve power. He doesn't want to do anything like that. Currently Deku flying backwards. Him beginning to adjust his armor accordingly. And currently Izuku, he's going to bring his hands down. Him flying back in and looking into Tony Stark. Him activating his air brake and throwing his hands out. Him going to spew flames directly into the man's armor. And Deku, he does, they're going to bring his hands up, activating Soundwave attacks and hitting Tony Stark with them. And currently Deku, he is using over 200 decibels in his suit. Currently him not hearing a thing as Tony Stark's suit, it does go on set there. Him bringing his hands up and trying to activate a barrier. However, everything inside that barrier is being riddled around. And Deku would tell Friday, or not Friday, Miss Costa, he wants her to increase the sound to 300 decibels. And Friday would give Izuku a warning. That will damage suit, do it. We're now her increasing the sound. And Tony Stark, he would begin to fly backwards. Currently, his shield going to break as there actually is the ground underneath them, which does begin to physically melt from the sheer force of the sound Izuku is exerting. And currently, Deku, the plating on his hands does begin to break. Currently, him turning off the sound systems as his suit would begin repairing around the hands. And Deku would bring his own hands up, blasting out at Tony Stark's armor. And Tony, he would turn. Currently, him creating a shield and going to protect himself. Him holding it up as he is physically trying to recover from that attack. And the kid, he's shown pure seriousness, pure ruthlessness, and he does sort of respect it. Currently, him bringing his hand up, flying forwards at Izuku. Him going to smash right into him as Deku, he's sent flying backwards. Him flying backwards and landing into the ground. And Friday, we're going to express a few things. Currently, Izuku turning back and getting up off the ground. And Tony, we just won't stand there. His suit beginning to grow in size and slightly begin to shift and modify. And Deku, he does stare at what he does see. As Tony Stark, he has grown in size. In Izuku, he sees a suit akin to his God Killer armor. It's different, but it certainly was based off of it. It certainly was built off of those designs. And Tony would bring his own hands up, him in the silver suit, talking about how does he like it. He built his own schematics off of what he saw, and he's gotta say, things are certainly interesting. Him bringing his hand up and creating a massive cannon on his shoulder. It going to connect onto his arm and grow in size, blasting Doki out at Deku. And Deku, he'll get a turn. Right now him blasting up into the air as Tony would arc the beam upwards into the sky. Right now him going to turn and fly to the right. Deku going to turn, activating his air brake as he would have one of the panels of his suit break off. Him turning and bringing his hand out. And right now the thing going to fly towards Iron Man's suit. Right now it breaking apart into shards and smashing directly into his barrier. And Tony, we just won't start at that. Talking about a few things. As Deku, he'll get a turn, flying towards Iron Man and directly at him. And Tony Stark, for a second he thinks the kid's gone full blown crazy as shit. As right he does go begin to charge another attack. And Deku, the moment is him flying in, he'll get a turn. Him going to smash right into Tony as he's a punch to his barrier and directly into Iron Man's face. Currently, Tony being sent flying backwards as Deku would bring his hand up, grabbing onto him with his anti-gravity tech, pulling him back forwards and throwing in his left hand, smash him across the face again. And Deku, we're going to bring his hand up, grabbing onto Tony Stark's throat, before burying him into the ground and yelling about it. Currently, his suit beginning to actually show more and more of the adaptations. And Tony, we just won't stare on. Deku pulling his hand backwards and plunging it down under his arc reactor. Right now, him beginning the process trying to siphon off the power of his suit. And Tony, he doesn't want laugh on. Currently, him seeing his suit flying upwards and looking at Deku's. The symbiotic armor beginning to wrap around Deku's Mark 10. And this, it has been a bit. Currently, it trying to find any nook and cranny to bury its fangs into. Bury its little microscopic and nanobot circuits into. However, Deku's suit is constantly shifting and having the plates move around. And it has one thing happening. It is trying to prevent anything from happening. And Tony would have fired arc reactor beam directly up into Izuku's face. Currently, Deku being sent flying backwards as Tony, he does just won't sit there. Him getting back up and turning to Izuku. Him blasting at Deku with an arc reactor beam, and Deku blasted as well with his own attacks. Currently, Tony standing there. And the two, they do continue this combat. They've been fighting for over 30 minutes. And while these two have shown they are evenly matched, they've shown other things as well. Their armors have taken completely different routes, but they have the same basis. Deku's built this suit based off of what Ultron did, being a complete and utter Swiss Army knife. Tony built this suit to be the end all be all of his technology. Connected directly into his brain, connected directly into his body. He is the armor. The suit is alive. And Deku, yeah, there actually is with the Sentry robots around, they tore apart Tony Stark's quote unquote machines. And Deku, he just don't stand there. Currently the Sentries flying in and are trying to attack Iron Man. And Tony, the moment this turned into a 3v1, he thought about what to do. Take what he could and run. Deku is already at the advantage. However, he's still on that goddamn timetable. And he did try to someone express to Izuku. Alright. Well, it's quite the predicament here, though. Though he's got to understand. If he wants to beat him, he'll beat him at his own game. Beat him fair and square. Come on. Him bring his hands up, telling Izuku. He does want to fight, right? You know, knock him around a bit more, get rid of some of that aggression. Isn't he angry? And Deku, he does stare at Tony Stark. He's trying to feed into this ego he thinks he does have. And Deku yells back at him that he's nothing like Tony goddamn Stark. Whoever the hell he thinks he is, he can't get into his fucking head that way. Fact of the matter is, he's done. Deku gonna turn, bringing his hand up as the reactions of the Mark 11 it would gonna manifest. And Iron Man, he would his own turn, him staring at the armor and immediately trying to hack into it. However, the reactions of the Sentry robots, they do both gonna break into two other robotic machines. Currently them swarming around Iron Man and beginning to try and bombard their way into his barrier. And Tony, he would gonna bring his own hands up. Him going to defend himself as Deku, he would gonna turn. His armor breaking around him as he would go turn to the other armor, bring his hand up as it is gonna immediately turn, flying towards him. And Deku, he currently does wear the Mark 11 suit. And Deku, he would turn back to Iron Man. Currently the superior Iron Man sitting there in a barrier with his hands up, his eyes glowing red as the sentries around him are all battering their fists down and into it. And Deku, he was going to order them all into retreat. Currently, Tony looking up as Deku would blast his hand out, breaking the barrier. And Tony is sent flying backwards, smashing onto the ground. Currently him feeling the actual injury in his physical body. Him gonna turn, as right now his arm is pouring blood. And Deku, he does his own step forwards in the Mark 11. Angry, annoyed, enraged. This battle's gone on for long enough. And Tony would a turn, giving Deku a bit more of a sadistic smile. Before gonna tell him, he's really just gonna do it, isn't he? Come on. I'm gonna turn, yelling at Deku. Get angry! And Deku stares at Tony. Tony continuing to express. He wants to see exactly where it's at. Come on, kid. Do it. Become a killer again. Make sure to take down the big bad guy. Though if he does do it, then he won't be able to save his friends. Come on. He knows he's got a thing for those two girls. What was it? Aurora, Wanda, come on. He trapped them in the goddamn quantum realm, and he needs his help to get them out of there. He doesn't know a goddamn thing about Deku bringing his hand out and blasting through Tony Stark's chest. And Tony, he would go to bring his own hands up. Him looking down and seeing the hole in his arc reactor. And he just won't fall forwards. Currently him falling onto the ground and coughing blood. It pouring from his mouth. And Deku, he just won't step forwards. Currently Tony looking up and seeing the expression on Izuku's face. The helmet dematerializing around it. Him bringing his hand up and trying to blast Izuku directly in the face. Currently, the shield becoming invisible as Deku's shield does glow red. And Deku stares down at the superior Iron Man before Mr. Stark is trying to catch his breath again. Currently, his suit trying to do what it can to make an artificial heart, keep blood circulating through his body. And Deku, he does see the suit trying to do this, the area patching over as it's trying to use its remaining power to make this a permanent addition. And Deku does watch Superior Iron Man sit there for a second before recatching his breath, before looking back up, and with a blood-coated smile, him telling Izuku, he can't win. He's already won. He proved his point. And Deku stares at Tony. Tony going to turn, falling over and telling his systems to activate self-destruct. Timer detonation, 3 seconds. Currently him going to lay there for a second and going to close his eyes before telling Izuku he's on a timetable. And right now Deku will go stand there. Superior Iron Man going to explode as Deku, he does just not stare on. Him watching that. Before he would turn. Right now him teleporting away and reappearing in Avengers Tower. A lot going through his head. Right now him beginning to tap on a few things and trying to figure out what's going on. He needs to figure out what Tony did. He used things on Dr. Pym's research. Okay, and here it is. The file's going to pop up. And Deku, he was not stare on at many of them. Him going to turn and fly down to the secure facility the Avengers do have. He needs to make sure he can do what he can. Figure this all out. If he can find... No. Dr. Pym. If he was Tony Stark. The paper trail. Him looking down and trying to think about everything. It does take Izuku some time. However, within the next 2 hours, he does figure this all out. Him having to look at some data and track down the rest of the Pym particles Hank Pym created last. He thought he could find them, but then he picked up on the trail Tony Stark had from where he recreated the research on Dr. Pym's Pym particles. And this led Izuku to one simple thing. The data. And making them, yeah. It wasn't easy. But Tony, he clearly left behind one hell of a trail. He was that confident in his own goddamn win. And Deku, he does go to do one thing. Currently him activating the device as the West Coast Avengers Tower, it would go to regrow in size back to his normal self. And Deku would turn, him teleporting back to the tower and looking around. And everybody, they do sit there, still in a bit of chaos. And Deku looks around, seeing the way the tower has been messed up a bit. Currently him turning and seeing somebody sitting on the couch. And Deku, he would walk over. Currently him looking to see Miles, who currently does sit there with a different haircut as Deku. He would ask him about what happened. Him turning his head, a lot more just alarmed. And Deku sees the look on Miles' face. He looks like he's been through some shit, though clearly he's been okay. Him asking Miles how much time passed here. And Miles, he still does a turn. Him running over and looking outside, before beginning to cheer as Deku would turn. Him going to have his helmet demanifest around him and asking Miss Costa how much time passed inside the tower's internal systems. And she would inform him. 4 months have passed in internal systems. And Deku, he's a lot more alarmed, asking how Aurora and Wanda are. And currently Deku would turn his head, him seeing the answer to that question. And currently, there actually is where the elevator opens. Wanda stepping out as she does go to turn her head. Right now, her with Captain Marvel, Spidey, and the Sentry. And Deku, he has a stare at Wanda, who currently is holding onto two children, two babies. Currently, Deku going to have his armor demanifest around him as he goes to step out of it. Him running over and pulling her into a hug. Trying to ask her, as he's going to pull back, if she's okay. And when I turn, looking at Robert. And Robert, he is emitting a bit of a glow. Him going to express. He's been trying to help out. Deku turning to Captain Marvel and Spidey. Before we're going to at least try to ask, what happened to Aurora? Where is she? Is she safe? It's been a little difficult, Izuku. Difficult? I'm looking down, asking, are they okay? Currently, Wanda handing one of them over. And Izuku, he does to carefully support the head of the baby and hold them up. They're small. Both of them are. And he's just alarmed. He missed it. I'm I'm sorry. It's William. Hmm? You're holding William. Listen. Her bringing her hand up and putting it directly over Izuku's heart. She senses a lot of things going on here. Right now, don't blame himself for whatever just happened. He saved them. Peter was still working on a device. It would have taken them a few more months to get free. Though, now that they're free, she does have a lot she needs to do. Like contact her dad. Currently, Pete gonna turn. Telling Deku. He owes him a lot of fucking money. And Deku would turn. Pete bringing his hands up and pulling off his mask. Telling him. He's being dead serious. He was not the right person to play doctor. Especially with the fact that his super strength made him a lot more paranoid. Currently, Pete goes to try and laugh it off a bit, doing so very nervously. And Deku, he would go to turn. Currently, Wanda talking about how she was going to put these two down for a nap. Her going to take the baby back from Izuku. And right now, everybody else will going to walk out of the elevator. Currently, Wanda and Deku still remaining inside. And when the door does get to close, Deku does again apologize about what happened. And Wanda, she doesn't really blame him. Again, trying to express. She senses a lot of things within him that do not make sense. She senses great distress, a great sadness. She wants to know what's going on. I killed Tony Stark. Her turning to Izuku. You. Oh. Yeah. I found his research. I found most of the stuff he did. He put a pin-particle bomb in the tower. I don't even know where he put it. He may have dropped it from orbit, kept it small, enlarged it, then set it off. I don't know. I use his lab and use most of the data I found to recreate all of them. Collect them. I'm just glad I did it in time. How's Aurora? She's fine. Currently, the elevator door gonna open. Her turning and going to give Izuku a kiss. Before expressing. Though she is still a bit distressed about being locked inside. Talk with her, and then if he does need to, go visit his daughter. It was a girl. Yes, it was. But that was not who I was referring to. Go talk to your crystal. But what about here? I feel like I could. Izuku, you can help, yes. However, you are still trying to mend a relationship. Crystal has accepted many things that have happened that are outside of her control. But has she accepted what is inside of her control? No. Maybe you're right. I'm going to turn. Pressing the button as Wano just won't smile. Her currently carrying her two boys to her room and laying them down to sleep. And Deku, whenever there's a knock on the door, Aurora does just won't sit up. Her currently asking about who it is. And when the door doesn't open to reveal Izuku, she's a lot more alarmed. She didn't even realize they were back in the real world, outside of this quote unquote tiny verse. And Deku, whenever he does actually walk through that door, she immediately jumps out of bed and runs over. Her pulling him into a hug as Deku, he would get a turn. Currently seeing that the baby got startled that was laying there with Aurora. Her going to turn and bring her hands up, expressing a few things to Izuku about what's going on. And Deku, he does this on comfort and show Aurora everything is okay. She needs to take a few days outside the tower, and Deku does not blame her. Currently, him going to get a few things set up, and right now we do actually cut over to Attilan. Deku handed over the information to Peter and Carol Danvers. They began the process of looking into what happened with the rest of the Avengers. And it was simple. Tony locked them in a tiny prison. That much was apparent. As far as he's aware, they're either locked in a tiny prison in the negative zone or a personal prison Tony Stark designed himself. It's simple. He's found a way to control a lot of things. And given the fact that Superior was a sociopath, it's not out of the question that he would mute time dilation. Make it seem like no time passes at all. Every time he walks out that door is the exact same time he'd walk back in through that door. He only allows them to exist in a perpetual state of 1 minute. You name it. It would be the best option. You wouldn't need somebody to sleep. You wouldn't need somebody to eat. You wouldn't need them to rest. They would just stand there, sit there in a room for who knows how long till the end of infinity. And it doesn't seem very good. Many of the heroes seem distressed. However, others, they were happy to be out. And they were just happy that they got that threat dealt with. And there also was Captain America. He had a few things going through his mind. He was able to keep himself centered and stable. But that isn't who we're focusing on right now. As currently we do cut to Izuku, who would go to knock on the window as it would go to open. Currently, the door opening up as Crystal stares at Izuku. Him standing there as his armor is right behind him. Him bringing his hand down and grabbing onto his wristband. Him going to unclip it and pull it up before handing it over to her. Her a bit confused. What is this? It's the remote control to my armor. You can turn it off, and I won't be able to look into anything. Huh? But I also brought him holding up a bottle, telling her, it's a good year. It's also, well, 20 grand. 20 grand? For a bottle. maybe I don't understand you Earthlings. Her bring her hand up, and tapping onto the armor as it would have power down. And she would just want to ask about what happened with Superior a few hours ago. Hmm? Him walking in and asking exactly if things are okay with Jasmine. She was put to sleep. She's having a nap. Her gonna walk over, setting down two glasses with ice as she does, then gonna pour it. Her sitting down with Izuku. Didn't expect you this morning. I know I'm sorry. I didn't. I thought you were genuinely in danger. I panicked. I came as fast as I could. So, Superior. He's dead. Her turning her head, a lot more aware of that. She thought that's how the situation went. Though, killing Tony Stark, that's a lot on Izuku's conscience. Her thinking about it. Deku practically talked about Tony Stark a lot. Internally, he's always thought about it. He shared those thoughts with her. The man was the father of the future. His own very words. He was a futurist, like Izuku. He wanted to help the man build the future, but he died whenever he was young. He died whenever he was still trying to do a lot of things. He built his company, but Tony didn't live to see it. Tony didn't live to see a lot of things. And it does sort of suck. Currently, Crystal bringing the drink up to her lips. And, oh wow, that's certainly something. Pretty good for a bottle. It's expensive, huh? It will suffice. Though, how are you feeling? You're not talking about it. You're avoiding it. You're not usually this evasive, Izuku. I know. I just, you don't want to talk about it, I understand. But you didn't want to talk about Ultron. Yeah, here we are. Can we not? You came back. You came running. Friday has talked about it, you know. She has admitted to me that you feared you'd hurt us. She told me before you sent her psych profiles, analyses. She shared that with you. Calm down. I'm sorry. I just. They could bring his hand down, grabbing the glass and bring it to his lips, knocking it back before going to turn, and trying to at least calm himself down. He feels the alcohol make its way into his body, and then his healing factor, it begins to break it down rather quickly. Izuku aware he can't even enjoy this alcohol. He can't even have this. He's stuck here sober with his goddamn thoughts. He came here to try and talk to her. But even then, it still feels like too much. He wanted to talk to her and see Jasmine. I do still love you, you know? I'm gonna turn. Stay at Crystal. Her gonna express. She gets it. It took her time, and she didn't want to outright forgive him. But after today, he killed to protect all of them. She saw the rage. She was a little scared. She will admit that. She will not lie. Though, fuck it. We're gonna bring her hand up, knocking back her glass, and then gonna turn. Currently, her going to at least tell Izuku. She has missed him. She will make that quite clear. Her leaning forward to give him a bit of a kiss. Deku talking about it, as currently she go to kiss him. Him bringing his hands up and asking her, pulling away, if she really thinks this is a good idea. Her making the comment, no, but it's what she wants. She wants him to be hers right now. She wants them to make up for some lost time. She's missed him. And honestly, she really just wants them to be them right now. It's making up for lost time. Currently, her leaning forwards. And Izuku, he would go to grab Crystal. Him gonna fully stand up as there actually is where Crystal would return. Her grabbing the bottle and asking Izuku if they should do anything more with this. Cause she can enjoy it and he can't. I have a few ideas in mind. Currently her gonna turn, grabbing his hand and making her way towards their room. And Izuku, he's just a lot happier to be here again. Crystal, he knows that she does care. She's been giving him the cold shoulder for the longest time. But him trying to be more interactive in his daughter's life, trying to be more there. The fact he rushed here to protect her, rushed here to help everybody, means a lot. Crystal has heard about what's going on with her sister Medusa on Earth. She's being taken care of and living somewhere secure. Deku offered to help out. She's family. He still considers them to be them. And with enough time passing, she does want to finally put this down. You know, let's what happened in the past with Ultron go. She understands it now. She understands Izuku better. And she knows that he's, well, you know, going through a lot. He came here to mend this relationship. Talk with her. That's why he brought the damn bottle. That's why he's here. And honestly, she doesn't want to fight with herself anymore. Try to rationally stay angry with Izuku. Even though he's just a victim in all this too. He was a victim of Ultron. And he had to take down a man he idolized to protect his family. Izuku, right now he needs somebody there with him. And Deku, he does think about a lot of things. Currently him lying there in his old bed with Crystal. The two holding onto each other and enjoying some time together. And it does mean quite a bit. Deku wants to get up, head to his old lab and check things out. Talk to Friday. See about a lot. See about many things. But right now he doesn't want to. The only thing right now in his mind is her. Her and Jasmine. Wanda has made things quite clear. He can be involved in their lives. Storm has made things quite aware. She'd like him to be involved in this baby's life. But Crystal, she still needs him. She's still a bit of an outsider, looking into the world. And she was left alone. He doesn't want to do that to her. Not again. Not after he's sure this time. Ultron might be gone. No. No, Izuku. He is gone. Just bury it. That in his mind, as Deku does close his eyes, him not afraid to dream. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.